Ubisoft was pretty. Oh, they were. I'm not disappointed in them, but let's go through it. To start off, they had Rainbow Six Siege. Was it Siege or was it a new game?
They started.
It was
They
something
started with
Rainbow
Just Dance. Let's not skip
Let's
that.
start, yeah, Just Dance.
Let's not skip that.
Okay, let's not skip that.
Can I say something?
Started with Just Dance.
I enjoyed that whole section. Then they moved on to Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Ooh, I actually missed that. Like, I saw the trailer afterwards, but like I was having problems with my internet, so I missed the actual trailer when they showed it off. But they had, what's his name? The guy
Joseph
from
Gordon-Levitt.
Batman. Yeah. Which is a odd thing because there's another guy later on as well from movies.
Well, so Joseph Gordon-Levitt
Mr.
isn't
Frodo.
involved in. He's not like a character or anything.
Yeah, it's just his studio is working with the game studio.
Well, yeah,
from
his
what I
company are working for the crowdsourcing of game development, which is absurd and
gathered.
stupid.
Which is pretty good.
That's so dumb.
Really?
It's so dumb.
I think it's
Well, let me put it this way. It's fine. Like, it's fine, but it raises a lot of questions that I don't know if they've got good answers for. Stuff to do with like compensation and stuff like that. So we'll see. But it is what it is. I think that. What's your opinion on Beyond Good and Evil 2?
Well, I already said before, I'm so hyped for Beyond Good and Evil. Like, from what little I saw, I'm interested in it. I know you don't like it due to the online aspect.
I'm
like-
really, really, really concerned about that game.
But from what I've seen so far, I'm interested in it. Like, my eyes are on it. I want to see more about exactly what the gameplay is. They showed a bit of gameplay before now, so that's why I'm not so down on them going, yeah, I want gameplay. Because I've seen a bit of it. At least, you know, how the character models will look in the world and stuff. And they've talked about certain specifications, like the size of it and stuff. So I'm not as down on it in that sense. I've never played the first one, so for me, I'm just interested in playing it. I just want to see how it is. What about you?
Story, really interesting, really interested. Setting, really interested. Characters, really interested. The actual game itself, incredibly concerned. Could not be more concerned. They started talking about crowdsourcing. They started talking about being involved in development. They started talking about all of this nonsense that, like, it really, really worries me what that game's going to turn into, because I don't think we actually know yet. But everything about it, outside of the gameplay stuff, really, really super interested, and hopefully it turns into something I would enjoy. Because I love the vibe. I love the characters they've shown off. I like all of them. I'm interested to see whether it plays into the story of Beyond Good and Evil 1 at all. Like with Jade and Paige being there, I'm interested to see how that figures out.
Well, apparently in the teaser trailer, Jade was in it. Like,
she was at the end,
that
yeah.
was Jade. And a lot of people were like, "Boy, it's supposed to be a prequel." So,
Well, they always said it was a prequel, but they literally said on stage after, that's young Jade, so it all makes sense. I'm not against her being in it. I'm just interested to see if the story arc of her and Paige figure out into Beyond Good and Evil 1. I'm interested for that bit. It's really, really super interesting, but I'm really also concerned because it seems like it could be something I really, really would enjoy. But we'll see.
which is honestly, I think, a good takeaway for a game like that. Next up, Rainbow Six Siege. Now, I'm not interested in Rainbow Six. What are you?
Six Siege is fine. Don't care. It's
Okay.
it's playing to the same audience again. Whatever the audience is at the last thing, they're just completely going like, guys, do you like Six Siege? And everyone who doesn't like Six Siege goes no, and everyone who does goes yeah. And they go, we've got DLC, and they'll go yeah, or okay, cool. Like,
Also, I forgot to talk about this in Bethesda, but Quake Eternals was also awesome.
Quake Champions.
Which looks alright. Yeah. Which looks alright.
It
Back to what you were saying.
looks
Sorry
like a
about
bad Overwatch, but fine. Not a bad Overwatch, just not. It just doesn't look like Overwatch. Yeah, no, it's just more Six Siege. If you like Six Siege, that's great for you. If you still play it, that's great for you. If you don't, it means nothing to you.
that. Next up was The Division 2. Thoughts? I know you don't like The Division or Destiny.
It's because they're shite. Ubisoft have this tendency to like make trailers which make me super interested in something, before telling me what it actually is, and then I go, oh wait, yeah, sorry, it's a Ubisoft
Like
game.
the animations at the beginning of those teasers, like where they had the text interlaced with like guns and stuff, I was like, yo,
Yeah, it's super good looking.
the amount of hours spent in After Effects to make this is ludicrous. This is all cool. Presentation wise, unbelievable.
It's super good looking. Like really, really,
But-
really good looking.
But just Division 2, I wasn't interested in the first one, and this is just like, okay, it's Destiny 2 all over again. And then the actual gameplay trailer for it looks so bad. Like Anthem levels bad.
That's the thing. People who like Division 1 that I know thought it looked really good and really interesting and were really excited for it. Everyone else looked at it and went, yeah, it's the Division. Like, but in a slightly more sunny setting. Like, alright, sweet, cool, don't care. You're playing to the same audience again.
Now, next up, we had Rabbids and Donkey Kong. I don't know if this is actually XCOM or not. It looked different.
It's a DLC for Rabbids XCOM, for Mario XCOM.
Oh, it's DLC.
Yeah.
So you're probably gonna eat that up because there's XCOM attached to it.
Mate,
and we all know how you're a whore for XCOM and
if I had a Switch and Mario plus Rabbids, I would be all over it. The fact that I still watch gameplay and like know like the intricacies of Donkey Kong's gameplay compared to the others shows how excited I am for it. But obviously I'm not going to get it because I don't have a Switch or that game. But again, if you're interested in that game, it sounds like a really cool addition and a really cool little campaign. Donkey Kong adds some really nice intricacies to it. But if you're not going to be into it. But having Grant Kirkhope on stage, getting to do some of Grant Kirkhope's music, all about, because that soundtrack is brilliant. That guy is brilliant.
Next up, we had, which is probably strangely enough the thing I was most interested in, Assassin's Creed.
Same.
I liked what I saw.
And I know people.
I liked what I saw there.
I know people who have never ever liked an Assassin's Creed game ever, actively dislike the series, who are now gonna get that game.
It's a common thing in Assassin's Creed. The amount of times people are like, I've never played one before with Assassin's Creed 4, and then they play and it's like, I love it now! And then the same thing happened with Odyssey a few times, and now it's happening again. It actually made me interested in Assassin's Creed again. Like, the fact that they're going full-blown RPG now, and it feels like there's less things on the map, and now I could make my own character, and there's less of the angsty feel.
Well, you can't make your own character,
I'm gonna give it a try. Well, it's your character, but you don't make them physically, but you can choose between male and female, and they're more your avatar rather than, a character in the world.
You get to choose between the two. They finally figured out how to animate. They finally figured out how to animate women, which is fun.
There's romances.
Yeah.
I wanna say that twice.
They took up BioWare's Anthem. They just rolled it and they just went, what should we do? Let's get romances involved.
And it makes me interested.
And it's not even just romances. It's whatever romance you want. You can have gay romances, straight romances. It's like they looked at BioWare. Like if a Turian turns up halfway through it, I would not be surprised. Do you know what I mean? Like it's really super interesting to me. It looks like they've taken up some. It looks like they've taken up some of the Shadow of Mordor stuff with like the I can't remember what they called him, but like that random guy they saw while they were on a horse and then they had a battle out of nowhere. Stuff like that is really super,
mercenaries.
Right. Stuff like that really super interesting to me.
Yeah, it looked fresh to me. Honestly, like, I'm not interested in Origins as much, but this looks good. It doesn't just look like, it does remind me a bit of The Witcher 3, but it looks more of just like we're trying something new here, and I'm all about it. What was I gonna say? I
have a predisposition to the Assassin's Creed series. Like this, I really like the setting. I really like the overarching story, and I just I'm a big history nerd, and so going into different points of history makes me very excited. And so when they came out,
I'm sort of that way too.
And when they sort of showed like in Origins, I was very interested in Origins. I never ended up buying it just because I didn't have the money, I guess. But like the slightly different combat, slightly like added stealth mechanics, different sort of ways of playing was interesting. And now they stuffed some Far Cry in there a bit. And so now they're going that, but also with a little bit more RPGs and conversation trees. I don't know how deep those trees are going to be. We will have to see. That will only be a thing that will tell over time. It could be super shallow, but adding this stuff in has made me go from cool, it's another Assassin's Creed game, so I'm going to get that game.
Yeah. While you was talking, it just reminded me of the only thing during it that made me a bit iffy, the combat. it didn't look as good as other Assassin's Creed. Like the animations themselves and the ways that enemies react to you slicing them, and just the way you react to slicing them, and some of the things where it's like you would charge up and attack him, or just even jumping on the horse. The animation just felt really, compared to some of the things they've made earlier, not as well, or at least fully cooked.
My biggest problem with it is that it's coming out this year. I wish it was. I wish it was coming out next year. I wish it was. I just want them to have more time. I don't need an Assassin's Creed game every year. I just don't need it. Give me one every 2 years, and I'm super happy with that. Like them saying it's going to come out this year makes me feel like they haven't quite learned their lesson, and like they ran that crap into the ground, and then they went away for like a year,
came back,
and then everyone was like, "Oh yeah, Assassin's Creed, cool, I'm ready for that." And then what they've done again is just gone go, like trying to grind it straight back into the ground again.
Yeah,
which I'm super disappointed
about. Some years away from it, so it's like this is gonna be a while since I played Assassin's Creed. Last one I played was Syndicate, so it's been enough years for me to be like, let's give it another try.
Last one I played properly was 4, so it's been a long time for me. But I just don't. I want it next year. I don't want it this year. I just want them to learn their lesson and build something truly great and start the series on the right path instead of trying to grind it out again. I do agree a little bit. Some of the animation stuff was a bit dodgy for me, but the combat was way more interesting than old Assassin's Creed combat by like 15,000 miles.
Personally, I don't think they can do much else with Assassin's Creed anymore. Like, if anything, just make a new IP with stuff like this. But if they're gonna keep using the Assassin's Creed name, you know they're just gonna keep doing the yearly thing. So while they're doing that, I'm gonna get what enjoyment I can out of it. But it's Assassin's Creed, you know what to expect. It's gonna be yearly. They're gonna pump a lot of money into it. There's gonna be a lot of marketing. They're gonna poach a lot of things from other games, but it might be fun. So hey, it's not gonna change.
My point is that they don't. My point is that they don't need to. And the fact they are trying new things with it, putting more RPG stuff in it, is interesting. But for some reason, they're just incapable of taking their time. So
it's because it's the main breadwinner at this point.
Then get other breadwinners, bro.
Skittish.
Stop.
Yeah, they're going skittish.
Stop creating the same shit over and over again, Ubisoft. No one cares about the Crew 2. Stop.
Oh god, I don't want to talk about the Crew 2. Let's skip the Crew 2. Every time that comes up at E3, my eyes glaze the fuck
Sorry, it's about to come out like next month or something stupid like that, so we won't have to talk about it again. Until the Crew 3 next year. Yes.
Jesus Christ. What was the last one?
What, the Crew 1?
Did they have one other game? Not the Crew, at the conference, other than the Crew. Assassin's Creed. I think that might have been the last game they showed off.
It was.
No, they showed off another game, which was like, they showed off some years before, in which you get like a spaceship. Like, you get the parts of it, and then you put it on your controller.
Oh, Starlink,
they gave me a map,
and Fox was in it.
And then they had Star Fox in it. That actually looks... when that was shown off first, I was like, that looks interesting. When that's shown off now, I'm still like, this looks interesting. I probably won't buy it.
Toys for life, don't care.
Cool. I like stuff like that.
I'm not saying I don't. I like Skylanders. I've got Skylanders up there somewhere. I like Skylanders, but it's like, I'm not going to sit there and buy more models.
I'm not going to buy it, but it looks cool.
It looks fine. If
I was like 12... maybe.
I think it's the wrong time to announce. I get why they announced Star Fox being in it now, because E3 is the time to punch people in the face with dumb hype stuff. But
fucking Star Fox.
But when we're still not 100% sure how the game actually plays, bit of an iffy time to do it. I think you show the gameplay and then go, "Oh, Star Fox is in it," and then everyone goes, "Oh!" But they did that first, and then I'm like, "Oh, but what is it?"
Well, probably the biggest piss off for me was No Rayman. No Rayman again.
There was something else they didn't show that I wanted, which I can't remember, but No Rayman is the big one for me.
Splinter Cell.
That was it, yeah, Splinter Cell. They were the two things I was most excited for, and we got neither of them.
Well, Assassin's Creed made up for it, but like overall, it was like a 7 or a 6. It was alright. I'd say Bethesda had more stuff that I liked, but it also had a really big gut punch. But this had one thing I really liked, like 1 or 2 other things I was alright with. Other things I don't even actively dislike. I just don't care.
Oh, we skipped over it, but can I just say that whole section for Trials, the new Trials Rising, very good. Don't care.
Yeah, that was pretty.
Not gonna buy the game, but like that whole section presenting it, super good. And that guy, I want in my life. Like the way he fell over, the way he terribly fell over the podium, was the greatest moment in E3 history.
And then when they were trying to scoop it away, and he was like, "Sorry."
Yeah. Oh, what a man.
That was great.
The,
Did you watch the Volvers? By the way, we need to get into the
I haven't
Volvers.
watched it.
Oh, yeah, I watched it.
It was on straight after someone else's, and so I just missed it. I was too busy doing something else.
It was great. It was great.
I need to...
It was great.
I will go back and watch it. All
right. Next up, we had Square Enix. Did you watch that one?
Yeah. I saw every single one but Devolver.
Yeah, which was actively okay. Square Enix's wasn't great, but it was alright. Like, I actually liked... What was the one game they showed off that I really liked at Square Enix's? Babylon. It was Babylon something that they're working on with Platinum Games.
Yeah.
They had like a teaser trailer for it, and just based around the way that they set it up, looked really interesting. I don't know how the game plays or anything like that, but it looks pretty cool. They also showed off Kingdom Hearts 3 for the 18th time at E3. They showed off Kingdom Hearts 3 way too many times. I have no interest in that game.
Me neither.
Like, it's weird because it's the type of game, if you showed it to me 5-6 years ago, I'd be like, oh, cool. But it's been too much years, man. Kingdom Hearts 3 should have came out last gen, and it's been... We're towards the final periods of this gen, and we're finally seeing it released, not even this year, but early next year, and it's like, what I'm seeing as well with Frozen and stuff, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm sorry. I'm not interested. I think the only thing Square could really have done, well, Just Cause 4 they had as well.
Yeah.
And Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
Which they also showed off at, both of them they showed off at Microsoft's conference earlier. Both of which look pretty good. Tomb Raider in particular, I might get.
Tomb Raider was the only thing that interested me. The entire rest of the conference was a burn. Again, it played purely to their own audience and no one else. I thought the conference for me was actively bad. The only 2 plus points I had coming out of it were Tomb Raider looks incredible, and it was quick. It was paced for something that was so rapid and was just trailer. They somehow managed to pace it out very nicely. But for me, the conference was actively bad.
No, well, I was interested in Tomb Raider, Dragon Quest XI. That's about it, really.
Octopath Traveler is one of those games where, I love the way it looks, but I don't think I'm going to buy it. But I do love the way it looks, and I would be...
I played the demo for it on my Switch. It's pretty good. I'm getting that next month, definitely.
For me, Square was the third worst conference, so...
They weren't good, but, like, I wasn't bored by them. It's basically... This is the best way I can talk about it.
No, the most boring one is coming up.
The thing about Square is that you'd think that they'd show off Final Fantasy VII Remake at this point. All the rumors were saying, we'll show it off now, and this game...
Bro, I don't know why
Square
people
Enix,
think that. I don't know why people think they're getting it anytime soon. That game's coming out in like 2020, 2021.
And you know the worst thing about Square is that this is the same E3 where we get Resident Evil Remake 2 and Devil May Cry 5 announcements that are coming out January and February of next month. Games people are also really hyped about. And it's like, Square, how do you not have anything to show off of FF7 Remake?
Because it's not when they announced it too early. Square Enix are literally the worst company in the world for announcing things too early. They can't help themselves.
It's really bad.
They do it all of the time.
It's really, really bad.
All they do is announce stuff that's coming out in like 20 years' time.
Oh my god. Like, we didn't see any of the Avengers game either, and it's like, okay, Square.
The Avengers thing, I don't know about, because that's still, the rumors are still chopping and changing with that. So I was like, we might see it, we might not. I didn't think we'd see it at Square's conference. I thought if we were going to see it, we'd see it at Sony or Microsoft.
We didn't see it those either.
No, that's what I mean. I didn't think, I was 50-50 on whether we'd see it at all, so I was really thinking about it. Also, the Avengers rubbish, but no, that's a joke. Final Fantasy VII is not coming out until like 2020. I don't know why anyone thought we'd even 2021. Sorry, I don't know why anyone thought we'd even see it.
Yeah. And like Microsoft and EA, it feels like Square hasn't learned either.
Square will never learn. Square are like Nintendo if Nintendo forgot how to learn. Because even Nintendo take a while to learn. Square just do what Square does. Like their Western stuff, their Enix stuff, their Eidos stuff is relatively well managed. But like their Japanese stuff is like, it comes out and the audience who loves it, and they're usually very, very well received. Like you can get like anything from 7.5s to 9.5s, like Nino Kuni, for example. Like they have really good stuff, but they announce it about 700 years into the future. Like the Final Fantasy VII thing did not need to be announced.
Yep, this is 2014. This is like if Cyberpunk didn't have anything between its announcement to now.
Yep.
But they didn't even have anything else. They just announced it back then, and that's it. That's all we've had. It's Final Fantasy versus 13 all over again.
Well, and then it went into development trouble. Then they took it off the studio who were developing it and gave it to someone else. Like, there's no way it was ever going to get shown this year. None. Zero chance.
Square doesn't learn, man. But yeah, for me, Square was like a 7. 7. There's a lot of 7s this year for me. A lot of 7s.
It was like a 4 for me.
4.
There was only one.
Actively bad for you.
Actively bad. There was one thing I liked. That was it.
Alright, moving on to what was they were the safest in going into it. They were the ones that didn't have to prove much. But coming out of it, similar to Microsoft, I have a lot of mixed opinions with them. Now, remember when I was talking about how I'm tired of seeing teaser trailers? Sony went ahead and was like, we're going to show gameplay. And they did. 4 games that they was talking about showing gameplay, they actually showed a lot of it. And that part, I was very happy with. Seeing more of Last of Us 2 was great. Seeing more of Death Stranding, still don't know what's in there. Great. Spider-Man actually looks really fantastic. Same with Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima and Spider-Man looked unbelievable. But actual presentation this year, like going into it, to start off, for those who haven't seen it, at the beginning of the conference, they were in a church. They had all the audience in the church, and they had a guy come out with a guitar, and he started to do the theme song of Last of Us. Alright, Charlie, you want to say something?
He's not the guy, he's the guy who made the soundtrack and is an incredible musician. But carry on with your dismissal of Gustavo, right. The big dog. Calm down.
Okay. Charlie's only this hype about it because he's a Last of Us fanatic.
Yeah, carry on.
It's actually his favorite game of all time.
Carry on.
But, like, the actual song, the way he did it, was all great. And the actual trailer was really good as well, even though the 2 parts between the gameplay that it showed for Last of Us 2 has caused a real stir up online.
Has it?
Yeah, there's a lot of people going like, "Oh, these freaking SJWs."
Oh, of course they are, bro. The women
kissed. Herring these people,
bro, did
man.
they not see the animation on her nose when
moaned.
they kissed, bro? It was mad. I was hyped. I was like, did you see the way it moved? There's like actual interaction. Sorry, carry on.
But people just lost their mind over it. Like, they're doing a lesbian scene in the church. Let's not get into it actually, because I know if
I feel like people who talk about that literally don't deserve to be thought about. Being honest about it.
Yeah, they talk too much, but like I still wouldn't have chose that scene at E3, like because it was a bit boring. Like, for those who didn't know, she goes up and then she kisses another girl in like this dance during a location very similar to where the actual conference was being held. But then it went into gameplay, which looked like Last of Us, looked good. Then it went back to that initial scene, but that initial scene wasn't really that interesting. Compared to like the trailer that they showed off before, where like they was hanging up the lady and it was gritty as fuck. That was hype. This one was more like, then the gameplay came on. I was like, oh. Then they ended with that and like, So it was good, but like it has caveats to it.
I think for me, obviously, like you say, Last of Us fanatic. I'm not sure whether it grabs anyone who's not a fan of The Last of Us already. So when the opening scene happens, I adored that. Like, that whole opening section I thought was genius. Like, hearing the stuff they were saying as someone who was super obsessed with the first one and like can recant like dumb bullcrap that wasn't even part of the main game that you found in like flipping like side items that you just discovered in the world. Like, for example, at the beginning you have someone who we weren't sure whether it was Ellie or not. Then it's confirmed in Ellie because someone says Ellie and she looks around. A guy comes up to her and says, "Oh, your old man was giving me a hard time. Is that Joel? Is that someone else? Like, what does that dynamic?"
That got me hype as well.
But that's what I mean. What does that dynamic mean? And then like the
fact that he said old man was like, wait,
right?
They're fully. So I got a bit hype.
And then you have like like we already know her sexual preferences because of the Last of Us
The
DLC Left
DLC
Behind,
episode.
and so like he has like the guy who comes up to her has a previous relationship with the girl who drags her away to start dancing with her. Like all of these things, like there's a lot of things that get said in there which are like super like from someone who is super into The Last of Us and cannot wait for this game is like hype inducing. Like her saying stuff like Ellie says all the men in here are looking at you, and she said maybe they're looking at you, they're scared of what you can do or something like that. And then it transitions into the gameplay, which for me again, like it looks very Last of Us-y, but like at the same time it's so brutal. Jesus Christ, like the first one was brutal in places, like parts of that game you're like flipping out. This one they've taken to a whole nother level. Like some of the things
the sledgehammer
right, some of the things they were doing in there were just absurdly like gritty, like, and I don't like using that word, but it's absurdly gritty. It was just like Jesus Christ, like people flying through things, getting stabbed, hammers being left in people's heads after they twonked them with it. Like that gameplay is it looks like a small evolution on what The Last of Us already had. Like you had some dodging stuff in there, like some of the new movement bits, added interaction with like the long grass and stuff like that which they've got from Uncharted 4. A really nice evolution of what that already is. And we see her just brutalize all of these people, just like wreck their lives, but she kills them. But you know what I mean? Like, just absolute decimation.
That is still wrecking their lives.
Fair, good point. I agree with that. I'll take that. But absolute decimation, and then it fades again back into the church singing. And she says, like, see, I told you they should be scared of you or whatever. And, like, I really think we needed gameplay of it, and I'm really glad we did, because we had the original teaser, and now we've got the gameplay. Now I'm just ready for the game. Just give it to me. I wait.
I was happy.
I want it to wait as long. Like, make it. I don't want you to rush it. I don't care. You could bring it out in 2 years for all I care, but I just want it. Like, I don't need to see anything else from it. I'm ready for it now. The stuff about where they started the conference, I think, could have paid off well. It happening for one game, I think its biggest problem was it happened for one game, and then there was that huge intermission in between. So they had designed like
I don't know why they did that in the first place, because it's like you could have done this same thing in the main conference hall, because straight after this you had the Ghost of Tsushima segment, have a guy with a, you know, not flute but a Japanese instrument, do the same thing before. The only reason why they did that was because it's like, oh, she's in a church or a similar setting in the two cutscenes.
Well, they made that. They made it up to look exactly like it was in the game.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know if that's really, what's the point? You don't need to.
Like I said, I think it could have played into it. It could have paid off better than it did. I think its biggest problem was the awkward section in between.
That was so awkward.
I remember
the guy said content.
Don't at me. Don't at me.
I thought that would trigger you the hell out.
Don't at me when I love writing comments, but Jesus Christ.
So awful.
I mean, Sony took a lot of risks with like the different settings, with putting the pre-show in the middle of the show instead. There's a lot of dumb things they probably shouldn't have done.
I think the biggest problem I have there is I have to wait till 2 o'clock in the morning to watch this.
Yeah.
And you have me wait another like 10 minutes between like one part of the conference to another one, in which you just have this guy with his thumb up his ass, and then the like CEO.
Like that section. That section should have been where some of the other third-party bits go. Like while they were moving between venues, the people who are sitting there should have still got some new stuff. Should have still got some new trailers, some new information. Like you could have had like a mini 10-minute Nintendo Direct in there, that sort of style thing, where you just have like a bit of a video presentation and then back onto the main stage. Because from the main stage onwards, the pacing was still a little bit iffy, but was basically what we wanted. Like there was no one coming out and talking, but it was just like, here's another thing, here's another thing, here's another thing, here's another thing. From that point onwards, they essentially knocked it out of the park. Again, it wasn't paced as well as, say, Square Enix is just douche, 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 but it was all right. The problem was that intermission bit was really like iffy, and they tried to do something a bit similar. I think it was at PSX last year, and the general consensus was, I'm not about that. And then they did it again, so it's a bit.
like I'll take my hats off to them for going more artistic, but at the same point in time, I think you may have taken it too far at the expense of people's actual, you know, enjoyment. And it's like, don't do that again, Sony. That was
if I was them, I would have just had the
boneheaded.
entire conference in that first place if that's the way they wanted to do it.
Yeah, you didn't have to put it in a church just to match the setting.
No,
'cause
just put it,
in
leave
previous
it, have it all
conferences-
in there. I don't care. Like, I don't mind it being,
What,
I don't mind
everyone
it
in
being
that
in the setting, but
crunched-
just like, it didn't need you.
Because if you remember,
The change was the biggest
the-
problem for me.
yeah, in the previous E3s, like I remember the God of War one, they would have like elements of the environment in the actual hall, even though they're not in the same location. Just do that. Just do that again. I don't know why you need to move people from hall to hall. Just put it in one hall. The second one is fine. Just leave it there. But yeah, it was good. But the trailer between, well, the two segments between the gameplay, I would prefer you guys to release that as like a teaser leading up to the game or so. Just go, oh look, this is a little part of the game. Like, I don't think the scene itself lended itself to be shown off at E3 in between, like with gameplay in the middle. It just felt like, I don't know. It didn't work for me as well as it should have. But the gameplay itself looked great, so I don't really have a problem with it, other than the choice of scene to sandwich the gameplay between.
I think the
You know what
entire
I mean?
demo was possibly my favorite one of E3, including the scene on either side of the gameplay. But I can see what you're saying.
Yeah. Next up, we had Ghost of Tsushima, which looked unbelievable. But similarly to Last of Us and God of War last year, you had a guy for instrument doing a song from the game in question, and I liked it. I liked all the instrument parts, honestly. I didn't mind them. It was just, as I said before, as you said and I said before, it's the period between the, you know, going between the two halls. But the actual gameplay of it looked so much like a mixture of Uncharted and Infamous, with like elements of Neo, if you would, or Onimusha, and it looked unbelievable to me. Visually, that's the best looking game I've ever seen. Visually, it looked unreal how pretty it was. Like there's segments where he's on top of a hill and he's looking out, and the use of color.
I mean, specifically,
God.
if you're talking about that, the one that stands out in my mind is when he's about to have the sword fight with that woman, and there's
Yes,
that frame
with
where
the-
he's in the front of the frame,
Mhm.
it's just his
Very
leg,
samurai
and then she's off in the
movie-like.
distance, sort of getting out. But that the framing with like the autumn leaves coming down, and that was like
Yeah.
unreal.
Unreal. I've never seen a game that cinematic. Like God of War comes close, but this was like, Jesus.
It was,
Christ.
that's the word. It was super
It was
cinematic.
unbelievable. Yeah.
I think that the actual it felt like for me Witcher 3 in feudal Japan, which I'm very, very happy with. I'm 100% down for that. I think that it was the wrong I think it was the wrong gameplay trailer to show. I don't think that's the right section. I
Really,
thought
for
the
you?
demo was a bit, I don't know. I find myself coming out of it understanding what the game is now, and I'm very happy for that. But I feel like that was the wrong section. It felt like an emotional moment out of context, and I feel like you can't do that when you're first showing a game. I think you need to show something a little bit different. Like with The Last of Us, we have the context for Ellie and her relationship and where we are in the timeline. For Spider-Man, we don't need context because Spider-Man is like a culturally significant thing. We know what Spider-Man is, so when we see him web slinging, we see enemies that he has, like, we get that thing. We didn't know anything about the game really coming into it, apart from its setting and its sort of general cinematic-y vibes a bit. And so I felt like that was the wrong thing to show it. It looked a bit... it reminded me a lot of when we first saw Breath of the Wild, in that it was very empty and dead feeling and a bit clunky. However, I do come out of it on the verge of saying I am going to definitely buy it. Like, the way it looked, what we glean from what the game will end up being, makes me very, very excited. And like you say, like, some of that thing was stunning. Like the hills, stunning. Like the trees were amazing. The puddles were immense. There's some nice looking puddles.
There was one particular part that had my mouth drop to the ground, and that's when he goes into, I don't know if it's a temple, but he goes into the building.
Yeah.
And then you see, you know, the slide doors that Japan has?
Yeah.
And you can see silhouettes behind
Yeah.
them. And you see the silhouette of the guy use a horn,
Yeah.
and then you kill the guy. That whole segment had me sort of like, Jesus Christ, it looks so good. But like the actual gameplay, I was all about, because for me, it showed off exactly what you could do. It has horse riding. This is how you move. You could also you have a grappling hook that you could utilize, and this is how the combat is. It told me everything I needed to know. And you know, I know you have the problem of saying it's very out of context and you couldn't glean much, you know, from the actual exchange based on what we know of the game. But I'm sort of fine with that, because it's like, if they're gonna show any part of the game, show me a part where we see more about the main character. Now, we don't know how he arrived here, we don't know how he relates to this character, and this might even be very early, so we, you know, you might think it's a big change in these two characters' dynamic, but
no, it might not be. But what I'm saying is it's like the section where he rides to the event is dead. There's nothing going on anywhere. It's just like we're sort of taking in the world, but nothing is really happening. He speaks to two characters who don't speak back. They just run away. Like, he then goes in and starts fighting these people. That bit's cool. He then talks to this person who he already has a relationship with of some sorts. Sure, cool, but then there's another section where it's just completely dead and empty. Leading up to the temple, that all felt really, really empty. There was nothing there. The temple bit is fine, is good. I like the temple bit. Everything after that is cool. Showing the way the gameplay changes from the normal combat to the combat when they were specifically having a sword fight. Is that just the way the E3 press conference? Is that a change in how the game specifically plays between those bits? Like, it raises a lot of questions which I'm not entirely certain was smart to raise. I think you could have shown it off just as well with a different section, with like a different mission than that one. It felt a bit weird to show that one. It wasn't the best one I think they could have shown. I think there's probably something in there they could have done better. It was just the one that was right. But some of, like you say, just it really is stunning to look at. Some of those things, the color palette, the way the sky looked, the contrast of the sky and like the autumn leaves falling off. That's some high quality visuals right there.
Definitely the best game I've ever seen them make visually. Yeah, I'm ready for Ghost of Tsushima.
Yep, same.
I really am. I really fucking am. I just want to play
Yeah.
it. Next up, we had, well, this actually goes to the multi-plat portion, because between these two exclusives, they start to show some multi-plats, and they showed off one that I'm really happy about. As I said, Capcom for me.
Well, before we get there, Control, which is one of the ones they showed in there, which is their new game by Remedy.
Yeah,
Remedy,
it looks a lot like Quantic.
Like, if you're talking about studios that Microsoft could have bought, Remedy would have been sort of in that conversation. They've been working on. For those who don't know, Alan Wake.
Remedy made Max Payne.
Yeah, they
worked on Alan Wake.
Yeah,
they made Quantum. Not
Break.
Quantic Dream.
So they made at the beginning they made Max Payne 1 and 2. Rockstar, which then took over and made 3 themselves. So they weren't involved in 3, but they made 1 and 2. They made all the Alan Wake stuff on 360 and PC. They then made, like you say, Quantum Break on Xbox One. That's a studio who are very, very capable. Their games aren't always incredible, but they are very, very capable. And I think with the right funding and the right support, if they were a Sony first party, I think they could take it to the next level. Like a Naughty Dog, well, not that level, but like a Sucker Punch or someone like that. To see their new game, game looks really cool.
It looks like Quantum Break.
Yeah, that's the reason I clocked it was them before that, because it looked like it is using the same tech.
While I was watching it, I was like, is this Quantum Break? It looked so much like it.
It looks like Quantum Break, but with more weird stuff going on. And hopefully
moving pistols with cubes and stuff.
And hopefully less television, that'd be nice. But that game is really super interesting to me. Then we saw what you're about to talk about, I assume.
We'll get onto that in a bit. There was another one that showed off. What was it? Well, maybe they didn't. Alright, let's just get straight into it. The
zombies, right? Have you seen the gameplay from it yet? Because them zombies look well shambolic, bro, and I'm so hyped.
Yeah. But for those who don't know, Resident Evil 2 Remake. And it's using similar to Devil May Cry 5, it's using the same engine of Resident Evil 7. So Resident Evil 7, Devil May Cry 5, and Resident Evil 2 Remake all use that same engine. And apparently, based on Devil May Cry 5, it utilizes, well, it could easily do 60 FPS. But not only that, I think Monster Hunter World also uses that engine. I could be wrong there though. But Capcom, the way they showed off the initial part of it, and you didn't know what it was because you're just a mouse and then you're just scuttling around. Well, your viewport is through out a mouse's eyes, and you're scuttling around, and you have two people struggling. You don't know what's going on yet. Then you see like the mouse next to a PS1, and I'm thinking, is this exclusive? But it's not apparently. Then it topples the shelf that the mouse is on over the scuffling people, and it kills the mouse. Then it shows it's a zombie fighting a guy. Then it shows Leon shooting the zombie in the head, and people lost their mind. I marked out because it's like I'm not the biggest Resident Evil fanboy, but like I'm a fan, and this looked great. This looked unbelievable. It looked like old school horror Resident Evil. Like this is horror. This isn't action. This is actual just horror. Slow zombies from what we could see. Very dark environments. Very, very good ambient music. And great performance as well. Like the police cop that you saw Leon Kennedy talking to, who said, make sure to kill him. Like that was a good performance, which is weird for Resident Evil, knowing Resident Evil's dialogue and Jill sandwiches.
But Masters of Unlocking.
But it looked great, man. That combined with Devil May Cry 5 were my two biggest takeaways of this E3 in terms of what made me just lose my mind and go, yo, this is great.
What interests me most about the Resident Evil 2 remake, I do love Resident Evil, verging on obsessive with some of them. 4 especially. 4 is like one of my top 3 games of all time. Well, top 4. I can't decide which one they're in, but I adore that game with an absolute passion, and see what they've done with the 2 remake as opposed to the 1 remake. So like they remade the remake of Resident Evil 1, so they remade the GameCube version as opposed to just remaking the PS1 version. But what that meant is we got essentially the same game again, but just in HD graphics, which is not a bad thing whatsoever. Like it was really good, and the best way definitively to play Resident Evil 1. What I'm most excited for with Resident Evil 2 is, I said, have you seen the gameplay? Because it is over the shoulder. It's not, we're not showing, it's not in the same way that the Resident Evil 1 was just a remake of Resident Evil 1. They have remade the game but with an over the shoulder viewpoint. So now it's got a mixture.
No tank controls.
It feels like a mixture between I think there is still tank controls, but it feels like a mixture between 4 and 7. So you've got like the tech and the way 7 looks and feels, but you have the gameplay of 4, which is like, for me, like the ultimate thing, and it leans a bit more into horror than 4 does. Like the zombies are proper actual zombies. They're not like, it's not like Left 4 Dead where they're running about. It's not like Resident Evil 4 where they're essentially just humans who can use guns and run about and do whatever. It's actual proper zombies. They feel shambolic. They feel like corpses, but somehow reanimated. Like it's really awesome to see. Like watching that gameplay 100% completely sold me. I was already sold because Resident Evil fanboy a bit, but like them seeing that, I was like, that's exactly what I want. I want that over the shoulder stuff. I want like the game to look and feel as brilliant as it does, but still maintain Resident Evil 2's spirit, but just with a different way of playing it. And that makes me super excited.
And that's Capcom for you. Capcom killed it this E3. Okay.
Go look at the gameplay, because
I'll look at the gameplay. You seem really. It sounded like the gameplay really made you into a believer.
Yeah, I was already gonna buy it, but like I saw that and I was like, that's literally exactly what I wanted.
I think the way that I see DMC5 is the way you see Resident Evil Remake 2.
Yeah, basically.
So, moving on. Next up, we had Spider-Man.
Death Stranding.
No, we had Death Stranding, which I talked about a bit earlier. In that, I still don't know exactly what's going on in the game, but we saw some gameplay, mostly just walking.
That's gameplay, bro.
Kojima, come on, man. I need to see what I'm doing. I'm still
That's
just
what you saw. You saw what you're doing.
I feel like a detective in an office and have all these thumbtacks all over the wall. I'm string everywhere. I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know what's going on. I have all these leads. I don't know. I can't make heads nor tails of what I'm going to be doing in the game. I don't know who this is, who that is. Yeah, you have two new celebrities playing characters. I'm like, don't know what they do. I don't know what they do. Could glean a few things here and there, such as if they touch you, for some reason you go into the future. I'm thinking.
No, I think you die, but then you become reborn.
But then again, they said that you don't really die.
Right. I assume the baby that he's holding, you turn into that baby. I assume.
Maybe, but like at this point in time, Kojima, I love you being vague, and it was really charming at first, but at this point in time, I just want to see what I'm going to be doing in the game. I don't even know the genre yet, for Christ's sake. This is like the opposite
Metal Gear,
of Cyberpunk, where it's like, he has gameplay. You know he does. But like,
Metal Gear, innit?
He's not going to show it off just to tickle you a bit more.
I don't know if it's a tickle, like, I just don't think it's ready.
A bit too much.
I don't think it's ready. I think that game's a 2021 game, probably. I just don't think it's ready to be shown properly. I think what we saw was gameplay. I think that is what you're going to be doing for sections of it. I don't think that's the entire game. There's a hint of what other things you could be doing in the trailer. Like at one point, a box he's holding turns into a gun. Therefore, probably you'll be shooting things at some point. I think
I do remember. Oh, you mean the transforming box? I thought you meant a box actually turning into a box by magic. But no, he has like a techno box that turns into a gun.
Techno box, but I suspect it's going to be very similar to Metal Gear Solid 5 gameplay wise, in that you'll have a sort of large open space and you'll be traveling around it. He says that the questions in there, he speaks about being a delivery man. And then we see a lot of him traversing places with different packages, packages following behind him, a corpse at one point. Like, there's a bunch of different things he's carrying. So I suspect what we'll get is a sort of, I think what it will end up being is a very large open world, probably slightly bigger than Metal Gear Solid 5's, but like a big open world where you travel around and different things happen within it. I don't know entirely what the gameplay consists of, but that walking stuff is game. It's 100% gameplay. It looks like gameplay, and you can understand the bit where towards the end where he's trying to sneak past the weird ghost things in the sky,
invisible things.
Yeah,
that leave handprints in the
that
ground.
Again looks like gameplay. I have mixed feelings because I look at it and I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, I still don't know much about it. And I'm not fussed. I don't need to know anything about it, to be honest with you. I'm happy just to wait until it's basically ready to come out and then start showing me what the game actually is, and then I can learn from there. I love the obtuse trailers. I think that this demo was a mistake. I don't think we could have dealt with another really weird obtuse trailer. I think we've reached our limit on that. I think they should have spaced them out.
This was another one.
Well, what I mean is one with devoid of gameplay, right?
This had barely any either.
No, I'm treating this as a gameplay thing because it holds gameplay in. What I'm saying is it should have been spaced out better. I feel like we should have seen like the second obtuse trailer now, or the third obtuse trailer now. We shouldn't see the obtuse gameplay now. We should have seen that later down the line, closer to when it's closer to coming out. Because like I said, I don't expect this game to come out until 2021. So I don't think showing the gameplay now was a good idea. I think if anything, showing it now has only got a negative effect on it. There's no positives to be gleaned from it.
2021 is next gen though. That's basically going to be next gen.
I think next generation consoles come out. Where are we? 2018. I reckon next gen consoles come out.
Like 2020 is when I see them.
No, they're not. I think they come out either early 2021 or late 2021. I don't know which one yet. Maybe early.
What?
I don't think we see the game. I don't think we see the game until 2021. Personally, I think that's a lot. I think it's a long, long time away. But what I'm saying is I don't see the positives to showing off that gameplay. I think if anything, you've just made people concerned and turned people off. I don't see anyone who is actively more excited for Death Stranding now than they were before the trailer. I think that at the very best, you're hoping for is a flat line of excitement. Like, people are still hyped. I think the only thing that you got from that was possible negativity. I don't see why they did it. I think the way it's a big deal that they've got an exclusive for Kojima. It's a really, really big deal. The first one after Silent Hills, first one after Metal Gear. I think that's such a massive deal. And I think they've botched the reveal and marketing of it slightly.
I don't think it should have been at E3, honestly. Next time, I think I've said this before, but I forgot about Death Stranding towards the lead up to this E3. It was at the back of my mind, and I'm like, we'll see it when we see it. I'm fine waiting. But now that we're seeing more of it, and it's still not gameplay, I'm like, just next time you show it to me, show me actual gameplay, please.
It will be, because the fact that they've got some, the fact they've got some gameplay in this bit denotes that the next time we'll see it will just be a gameplay section. They can't do anything else at this point. Like, the way that steps up, they can't step back down again. There's no way they could do that.
I would have preferred not even seeing it this year, honestly.
Oh, I'm the same. I don't want to see anything. Just fuck it off until I see it, until it comes out. I don't care. Like, I'm fine with that.
And the final game that we saw this E3 from Sony was Spider-Man, which looks, pardon the pun, but spectacular.
Nice.
That looks so good. That just looks... That is Arkham. That's Arkham. It's Arkham with more fluid motion and a couple different things, but the same way that Arkham made Batman so much cool, even though he was really cool, this felt like it did the same for Spider-Man. The way they redesigned the characters, such as Vulture or Electro in particular, like the way that they made his mask turn into like a scar on his face, I fucking love. It looked really good. And then a lot of the ways that you'd see the spider sense on his head before he gets hit, and then you can sort of look at that visually, or you can just use your own judgment to go, alright, I'm gonna move to the left or move to the right, was really cool. Just the way that Pete moved around, Charlie, he was so fluid.
Who's Pete?
Like, he was
Peter Parker,
so fluid. Yeah. Spider-Man was so fluid during that. And some of the cutscenes, like when they was flinging not cargo, those shipping dock crates.
Yeah.
Like when they flung so many of those towards him. Yeah. Then he just dashed through them, and it wasn't it was in engine, but it wasn't gameplay. But like, they're making that game look fantastic, and I'm ready for it. And I'm hyped for it. I'm hyped for that game, and that's all they really need to do to hype me up. That just looks great. That's exactly what I wanted to see. Out of all the gameplay trailers I saw during Sony's conference, and probably even the whole of E3, that was the most impressive to me. What about you?
It was the wrong gameplay for me. I would have they showed some after of general gameplay of him going around in New York and stopping crimes and stuff. That's what I wanted to see. I didn't want to see another set piece moment. I think that was the wrong thing to show. I understand why they showed it. It's more hype by 10 times to show a set piece when they're introducing all of the different villains that are in the game, introducing sort of the general premises of the game. Oh, look, all these people have broken out and now we're gonna have to deal with them, and there's someone funding them, and there's all this other stuff going on. Like, it introduced a lot of mysteries about the game. It told us a lot about the game, which I think was really, really good, but I didn't want to see another set piece. A lot of people still keep coming away from it saying, oh, it feels very quick time event-y, it doesn't feel very control-y, and I'm like, yeah, that's because they keep showing you set pieces where you're like funneled through. I think if they showed us, like, what I would have preferred to see was like general city gameplay going about stopping crimes, then that turning into a bigger set piece thing, I would have been like ecstatic with that. But I don't think that might not exist in the game. Maybe that's why I didn't show it. But
we'll probably see it at Gamescom.
We've seen it. We saw it at E3. They showed it off straight after. Literally, as soon as the conference finished, it went back to the people on the panel, and they started showing more Spider-Man. And that's what I was like. As I was speaking to someone when we were watching it, and that trailer came on, and I was like, it's good. It's just as impressive as the last one, but I really wanted to see actual gameplay, like a chunk of gameplay. What does it look like when you play through that game? What does it feel like? What's the general step-by-step hooks and all that stuff? And they were like, yeah, I see what you're saying. And then straight after the conference they showed it, I was like, that's what I wanted in the conference. That bit there where he's like, there's a bit where he stands on top of it and he presses a button, and then all the mission markers pop up around him. It's like, oh, there's a thing happening here, there's a thing happening here. And I'm like, this is what I wanted to see. I wanted to see what the moment-by-moment gameplay is, as opposed to a set piece. I'm buying that game guaranteed. I'm very excited for it. Spider-Man is probably it's up there with my favorite superheroes. I don't have that much. I don't know, like, out of those bad guys, I know Electro because of the PlayStation 1 Spider game. I know Spider-Man game. I know Rhino because of the PlayStation 1 Spider-Man game. I don't know like that much. I haven't seen any Spider-Man film since Spider-Man 3. The one where he dances down the street. But like, I'm definitely buying it. It looks super interesting. It looks Arkham-y, and then the moment-to-moment city gameplay sold me instantly.
Personally, it was my favorite game that they showed off. That and Ghost of Tsushima. But overall, Sony, I wanted them to show me something new, and they showed off gameplay, which was great. It, as I said, gameplay, that side of it got me really sorry about that. Got me really interested. Which runs counter to what Microsoft did. Microsoft was mostly just teasers. Like, even of the IPs that they had, they only really showed gameplay for Forza. So I'm really happy they showed off a lot of gameplay, but I wanted to see not even a new IP. It could be a new IP, but I wanted to see something new,
something we didn't know about,
something surprising. Yeah, and I was hoping it could be a Horizon 2 or anything new, like a new Jak and Daxter, like we talked about too. But we didn't get that, and I put it higher than Microsoft. But like, this isn't as good as last year's Sony or even the year before's. It was like, you're sort of spinning your wheels here. You could do more. I'm pretty sure you guys have more that you haven't shown off, but it's like, I expected a bit more from this conference, and it was like an 8. It was an 8. If Microsoft's a 7, this is like an 8. Like, they're both fine. Microsoft had more to prove. Sony sort of backtracked a bit, and you know, it didn't leave me in the best space, but it did leave me interested in the games that I was either interested in before, or games I didn't know about before, such as Resident Evil Remake 2, but those aren't actually made by Sony. So it's less of, this is Sony doing something good, and more of Capcom just going, yeah, you see all your games? This is our 2 games, we're going to do it well. And they did. Capcom, if you guys didn't know, Capcom was great this E3.
I think that Sony had the best conference for me. I agree, I wanted to see something new that we hadn't seen before. When the rumours were going around, we spoke about it before, that there's literally only going to be 4 games. I was like, there's literally no way on earth. There is no way on earth they will only have 4 games for an entire conference.
And they showed off more than 4.
I don't mind there being, like, the thing is if you don't, if whatever you've got being made isn't ready to be shown off yet, then that's fine. Just make the most of what you've got, and they did. They showed gameplay for all of their 4 major exclusives coming up. We already know, we've seen enough of Days Gone. Days Gone's coming out. They released the trailer and the date beforehand. We don't need to see any more of that. Just show us significant gameplay for all of them, and they did, apart from Death Stranding. But Death Stranding is what Death Stranding is. I don't know. So I was super happy with it. I think 8.5, best conference by far for me. Even though its pacing was weird, even though the beginning bit didn't work out as well as it could have, I still think it beat every other conference with relative ease, because they actually showed gameplay, and not just snippets of gameplay cut together. No, an actual gameplay section.
Like, I think Last of Us 2 was 11 minutes or so.
Yeah. Something like that.
And Spider-Man was like 6 minutes, and Death Stranding was like a good 5 minutes, if you want to call it gameplay. But like, I guess it is gameplay.
Yeah, like, even if we ignore Death Stranding, like Tsushima, Spider-Man, Last of Us, Tsushima, we saw Spider-Man, actual like a gameplay section from beginning to end, not cutting between random crap. Like, we saw gameplay. Like, that was what it was, and that's what you need. That's what you want. That's what gets you the most excited about buying something.
To Sony, I'll say, stop trying to be so artsy to the detriment of the actual presentation, and just continue the whole showing off gameplay, but give me like 1 or 2 more. Make sure there's like at least 1 or 2 things that you guys are developing I don't know about.
The thing is, I'm fine with it, because they're like, I don't want you to show stuff off early. I think it's like, it's a 50-50 thing. Like, we can't complain about, like, I mean, we can, but I feel like I almost start complaining about not seeing new stuff, but also complain about seeing stuff too early. It's like, if it's not ready, I don't want to know about it. I want the time period to be as short as humanly possible. Just make sure that what you do have to show me, you're maximizing that. And I feel like they did that.
See, I don't mind it if they, like, if it's still, like, if this is has some time behind it. If you guys did what you did this E3 with like actual gameplay of games that are coming out, instead of just going, this is coming out at this point, this is coming out at this point, this is coming out at this point. So if they did that, that balance will be fine for me. You probably will be like, no, I don't want to see it until then. But like, I don't mind seeing one or two things like, hey, it's a new Jack and Daxter, or it's a new Horizon, or whatever. I'll be like, that's cool. I could look forward to that in the next E3 or the E3 after that. But you're also showing off gameplay of these things, a lot of gameplay of the things that you already announced before. So if they did a bit more of that, like do both, I'll be very happy.
Oh, also the game made by Justin Roiland, the Rick and Morty creator, looks really fun. Cool.
Oh, that looks great. Yeah, that looks cool. I forgot about that, but that looked really nice. Like that looks to do what South Park Stick of Truth tried to do.
Yeah.
But actually being funny.
Wow.
I don't think South Park was funny.
Oof, that was harsh. But yeah, I really like the look of that.
Remember our Kanye West joke, guys? It's in this game. Yeah, I remember that when I was 12.
Bro,
it's great.
You're
doing it again. I'm sorry. I'm firing shots. I don't mean to, but I just don't like the premise of Stick of Truth and the other one.
Fractured Butthole.
But anyway, yeah, Fractured Butthole. Cool name, but
it's like Butthole.
Finally, we had Nintendo.
You mean Smash Brothers?
And Smash, yes. But they did have a few cool things before, I will say. They start off this weird, Armored Core looking trailer.
Yep.
For a mech game, don't know what you're doing.
Mate,
looks alright.
You fight giant mechs and it has screamo music in the background. Sold, innit?
Yeah.
Done.
Yep. And they had Mario Party as well.
Yep.
What do you think about that, Charlie?
Could not care less.
I know you have strong opinions about Mario Party.
It's just a bad game. Mario Party is actively bad. There's nothing good about Mario Party. It's a game purely based on luck and bad mini games. I don't understand why people like it.
But it did have one game aside from Smash that Smash I'm sort of iffy on, but Fire Emblem looks unbelievable to me. Like, that is what I think Fire Emblem should be. Because for the longest period, not the longest period of time, but since, I want to say, Fire Emblem Awakening, they've done the whole, we have waifus and all this in the game. And I'm like, it's cool you have some of that in there, but you're focusing way too freaking much on it. And then they're like, with Fates, hey look, we have 2 versions like Pokemon. And I'm like, you did this at the expense of the story, and the story's garbage now. Don't do that again. And now it feels more like they're going back to the whole, this is about tactical RPG combat, and we've made it so it seems a bit less silly that you have one unit that is just one unit fighting another unit. Instead, one unit represents a small squad of people, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. The transition between the overworld to like actual third-person combat. Oh, that looks cool. Actual mini-map, not mini-map, but like overworld exploration and things to do outside of the combat encounters. Oh, that looks cool. It feels like what Breath of the Wild did for Zelda. Like, you are advancing Fire Emblem. You're not really pandering to this demographic more as much as you used to. Instead, you're actually building on what you had before and trying to make something new. That looks really cool. Unfortunately, that's the only game at the conference where that really felt that way with Nintendo. What about you?
You've mentioned both of the games that I had any mild interest in. That mech one at the beginning, mild, very, very, very mild interest, mainly because the music was screamo, and also the editing of the trailer was horrendous at the end. Like, I don't know if you've noticed this.
The way that the music stopped.
Yeah, it was like, so and it just ended, and I was like, whoa, okay.
I sort of like that, honestly.
Yeah, I was fine with that, but outside of that, the gameplay just looked whatever. I'm not that fussed about it. Fire Emblem looks cool. Not massively different. It just looks fine. I think I'll be more excited for it the closer it gets and the more we get to see of it. I like some of the elements it shows, like the different stuff you're talking about, like, and having that, like, instead of it being a unit versus a unit, having like you go into like almost a bit like Rome Total War, like scrolling and you can see like all of the units and the different people and having them move around. That's like, as a tactics guy, that's interesting to me. I
know you like Advanced Wars a lot.
Yeah, like that sort of stuff looked really interesting to me. I went into Nintendo wanting a reason to buy a Switch, and I did not get one. And I don't think I've ever been. There have been very few times at E3 when I've been as bored as I was during the Smash Bros. Bit. It's the most boring thing in the world to me. Just like they spent 10 minutes going on about specific changes to each character, and it's like, I get it, it's a big deal, but if you're not into Smash Bros, then I'm just sitting here watching you go, oh, and in this animation, there's now 2 extra characters. It's like, cool, man.
Leave that for after the.
But why should I buy it?
Putting it in the E3 is like, the treehouse is where they should have showed.
That should have been treehouse stuff. Yeah. The problem is there's nothing. They have nothing else. I'm
like, it's a port. I'm very disappointed to see that all the games that they're announcing are late. Well, not late, 2019. Yeah. Because I have a Switch, and this whole year has been garbage for Switch. Last year was great. This year has been actual garbage. Mm-hmm. There's nothing. I've turned on PS4 so many times, and my Switch is just gathering dust, and it's like, this is a good system. Why are you not putting things on there this year?
I don't understand why they continue to support 3DS. It makes no sense to me.
They didn't actually show off anything for the 3DS.
That's because they showed everything off of Directs. My biggest problem with Nintendo, right, is like the way they spread out their Directs is really cool and nice, and it means you get a steady stream of information the entire year. But it really, really, really diminishes the impact of E3. And we get here, and they spent like 25-30 minutes banging on about Smash Bros, where if you don't care about Smash Bros, you're not gonna care. Like, I just did not care. I was sitting here, I don't know where it is, but I had like my wristband on, and I was just sitting here looking at my wristband, flicking it back and forth, like nothing else happening. It was super, super dull to just sit and watch. And like, I don't mind you, like, don't stop supporting 3DS. I get it, it has a large install base, but that console has come and it is gone. Its time is done. You should move all of your teams over to purely working on Switch games. And if you did that, you've got enough of them where you could just blow everything else out of the water. Except it comes to E3 and you're like, Pokemon Go, right? Okay, we saw that before. Smash. Mm-hmm. Sure, rightio. Glad that's the thing that's occurring for everyone else. Like, there's nothing else.
They talked about Smash for so long.
Nothing else.
Like, I actually like Smash, and it's like they went on about that for most of the things they talked about at Smash in the Smash part. Just put it in Nintendo Direct. And the one thing that really pissed me off was we didn't see Metroid Prime 4. Metroid Prime 4. We should have seen this. We should have seen Metroid Prime 4.
If it's not ready, if you didn't think it was going to be ready to be shown next year, then announce it this year and show it next year. Like, if this, at the end of this, imagine if at the end of this they went, oh, we've got one more thing, and the Metroid Prime 4 teaser happened. Great. Like, it was bad because it was literally just a logo they showed, but at least it was like, it's coming. We're officially making it. It's officially a thing that's happening.
Yep.
And like, we're a year later and it's still nothing there. And it's like, what's the point?
Still nothing. And I'm like, is this it? Like, I remember talking about, oh, there might be a F-Zero Star Fox type of thing, and that didn't happen. I don't like F-Zero Star Fox, but I'd be interested in seeing what that type of thing is, and there is nothing else that you guys had but Smash. The only other game that I'm hyped for is Fire Emblem, and Octopath Traveler, and maybe a bit of that mech game that I saw at the beginning. That looks fine. But that was Nintendo. The whole thing was just Smash.
They had a nice, like, indie section in there, which is cool, but you want to know what
it was too quick. You want
to know what their first party's doing. Like, those independent games, a lot of them are already available on PC. You can get them in other places. It's not like, it's cool that they're supported, but you want to see what their first parties are doing. And apparently they're just busy putting every character ever in Smash, and that's a big deal for some reason.
I don't even think that's a big deal. Smash is a glorified, updated port of Smash Wii U, and I'm glad I get Smash back, but it's like, this is just Smash Wii U with all the characters that we got previously. And a lot of people were like, Snake's back, but I'm like, oh, whatever, dude. I'm gonna buy it, I'm gonna enjoy it, but at the same point in time, this is not important enough to spend that much time. Sony didn't spend that much time talking about Last of Us, or Spider-Man, or Ghost of Tsushima, or Death Stranding, like, combined. I want to say combined. Yeah. As they spent talking about that one Smash game, and it's like, No, Nintendo, that's not how you do it. If you just had the trailer and then you showed off everyone's gonna be in it, and then after that, at a Treehouse event, you put all those details at that part, and then after that you have like 1 or 2 surprises. That would be fine. That would be a great E3. You didn't do that though, and I'm just like, to close out E3.
In the same way that you said, like, you're looking for like a reason to buy an Xbox One and they're not giving it to you. There's no reason for me to buy a Switch. Like, don't care about Breath of the Wild. Mario Odyssey would be fun to play. Like, the 2 games I want, the 2 games I actively want are Mario Odyssey and Mario XCOM, and I'm not going to spend the money to buy a console just to play those 2 games. I can live without it. And I wanted to come into this and then to be like, look, here's a thing, and me go, oh, that's a thing. Except they went, here's Smash, and I went, sure, all right, cool.
Like, no virtual console announcement, no
speaking about their online at all.
And I'm just like, Nintendo, you did so well last year, and you made me go, oh my god, Nintendo's actually fucking learning. I actually like them a bit. And then this year, it's like a complete 180, and it's back to, what the fuck are you doing, Nintendo? So, I want to see what they do after this. I want to see what the directs are after this. But, like, for E3, this was like a 5.
3.
This was like a 5. Lower than EA?
3, yeah, it's worse. Not an EA. Worse than... the only one that's worse is EA.
What's the EA 2? Like a 2?
Yeah, it was pointless. There was, like... You showed games. Congratulations. You technically had a press conference. Congrats. You announced a Star Wars game I'm interested in, but literally didn't even have a title screen for it. Good job. It's like the equivalent of playing a game which gets like a 2 out of 10 because technically there is a game here. It's like there is a conference here, but there's nothing there. The only one that was worse was EA. Nintendo was horrendous. I can't believe, with the amount of like studios and people they have working on games all of the time, that was what they showed. That was where they went.
Yeah, it was bad.
Even like last year, right? Sorry, but last year
it really riled you up.
Last year, right? They had so much in that stuff that they announced another game during their Treehouse. Like, that's how much they had last year. And this year, their conference had the stuff the Treehouse should have had. What is your problem? How are you so baffled by life? Ugh.
Charlie got riled up by
Nintendo. E3 was really, really disappointing for me.
I come out of E3.
There was nothing new and fresh. There was, like, I come away with a couple of, like, interesting announcements. Resident Evil 2 being a huge one. And definitely wanting to buy Spider-Man. Definitely wanting to buy Ghost of Tsushima. I learned some more about some things I was excited for. I'm very happy that Microsoft seems to be actually pointing in the right direction and moving forward now, because that means we've got a bright future ahead of us. But there was nothing major. There was nothing game-changing. There was nothing... Like, we might look back in 4 years and say, look, that was when Microsoft got their act together. But between now and then, there's still nothing major from them. Outside of their support for independent stuff, which is cool but pre-existing. So for me, it was a really, it was a disappointing E3. And if I was to rank the conferences, I wrote this down so I could remember. I put, it just went off my screen. Give me a second. I'm really good at radio. Sony, Xbox, Bethesda, Ubisoft, Square Enix, Nintendo, EA. And there's a significant drop-off after Bethesda. Like, you have Sony and you have Xbox. Then you have Bethesda, which is a bit lower. Then, oh my god, after that, we're taking a big old drop. And then, it's the most pointless thing I've ever watched in my entire life.
I come out a bit different to you in that, for me, E3 wasn't disappointing for me this year, because like, I don't really ever go into E3 with the highest expectations. I always have like, it's either going to be really good or it's going to be really bad. But I'm always going to get things here and there that I'm like, I really like this, I really like that, I really like this. So for me, Devil May Cry 5, Resident Evil Remake 2, Fire Emblem very much impressed me. What's it called? Not Prey. Bethesda's game that I'm really psyched about, and a few others have me going, I like all of these. It gave me information I wanted to see when I wanted to see it, but the presentation itself left a lot to be desired. So for me, it's a very mixed bag. Like Sony, I don't know if they're my favorite honestly this year. I think it might actually be honestly Bethesda. Strangely enough, like I love what Sony showed off, but I just the prospect of what Bethesda has coming forward has me a bit more interested. If you understand what I mean,
Yeah.
like even though I fucking hate what they did with Fallout, I'm still a bit more interested to see what Bethesda has coming out with the new Wolfenstein, the new Doom. You know, far up into the future, you have Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6. Don't really care about that. I might even try out the Elder Scrolls mobile game, which looks pretty okay, I guess. And Quake Eternal looks a bit interesting to me. Champions. Then below that you have Sony. I know what to expect, but you guys didn't do as well as I thought you would, based on what you've done before. Microsoft. No, I put Ubisoft next. Because Assassin's Creed generally impressed me. It generally just impressed me. Microsoft I actually sort of like this year as well. Mostly happy games like Ori and stuff, but I've went over it before. This felt more like course correction, and this isn't the first time where Microsoft has felt like they've spent an E3 course correcting and then just making the same mistakes before. Like if you guys remember, they had Rare and all these other devs, and it was cool that they bought them, and then they mishandled them. So I can't really get hype for Microsoft buying these studios based just on the premise that they bought the studios, because knowing Microsoft, they like to react, they don't like to plan. And I want to see what they do, but I can't get excited over them. Next is probably Square Enix. Didn't really show me much I cared about, I guess. Oh yeah, Neo 2 was also at Sony's conference. This was pretty good as well. I forgot to say that. But yeah, after that, EA, and yeah, I don't really want to talk about EA. But out of everything shown off, Capcom, if Capcom had a booth, they would be the winner for me. Capcom have been knocking out the park. I've said it before, Capcom used to be my favorite devs, then it became BioWare, then it became Rockstar. Capcom I love because they have so many franchises that they care about and they put so much effort into, and they're so diverse. They have the most diverse library on the planet. And to finally see them going back to the Capcom I used to love is huge.
We even got them pushing Mega Man 11 for Christ's sake.
Yes! Mega Man 11, Monster Hunter World, a game that I loved as a kid, and then to see it get so much popularity and see so much people understand why it's such a good series, like, seeing that at the beginning of this year it made me really happy. And then to see Devil May Cry 5 come back and see Resident Evil Remake 2 look great, and it's like, Capcom made E3 good for me. If Capcom wasn't there, I don't think E3 I'd like it, but Capcom made E3 for me, and I guess that speaks for everyone else that Capcom, the guys that didn't even have a conference, made E3 for me. They had the best games for me on both conferences that they appeared in, and they appeared in the main two conferences. So I guess that speaks for itself.
Yeah, I think I'm so disappointed, not because I went into it expecting a lot, but because I was expecting something and I got so little from it. Like, I don't go into it expecting like amazing, incredible, like gushes of riches of games, but I just expect like some new stuff I didn't know about that I can take away, like 5 games where I can just go, oh yeah, hype for like life. And I've come away with it, I'm like, Resident Evil 2, sweet, we knew it was coming, but I'm glad it's actually a thing and looks good. Outside of that, I'm like, I'm unbelievably, like, I'm sold on Last of Us. Like, they somehow made me sold on Assassin's Creed. Like I say, Ghost of Tsushima, I'm basically sold on. Spider-Man, I'm basically sold on.
Thing is, we were sold on these already for the most part, so it's just like,
yeah, like Spider-Man did sell me. Ghost of Tsushima has sold me. I was pretty certain I'd be on Ghost of Tsushima anyway, but like now I know exactly what it is. I'm like there. But that's what I mean. It's like we've had a really serious devoid. Like there's been just a lack of new stuff. There's been a lack of freshness and lack of new ideas. And everyone essentially betting on their own audiences again. There were very few moments where I I was like, there were very few moments where it was unbelievable and huge, and I think Last of Us was one of those. But outside of that, you're struggling to find them. And Xbox,
Yeah,
please,
I think
please
next
stop
year.
asking. Xbox, please stop asking people to come on stage and speak about like AI and just stuff like that. No one cares. Like it's great, and when it's in the game, we go, oh, but you're like, we're designing more realistic AI, and I'm like, all right then, cool. Let me know when that's actually used for something.
Well, you can say the same about the devs as well. Honestly, they're sort of in the same boat. It's cool that you guys have new devs, but like till you have games to announce or show off,
Yeah, but at least
wait.
that's like telling you like we're moving forward. Like them saying we're designing new AI is the most stupid thing I've heard. Why? I don't care. I really don't. Like it's a good, excellent, good job, guys. Like I'm glad you're doing it. Go put it in an actual thing, and I'm hyped. At least
So
with the
that's your
developers.
content for them at that conference. Like Sony's was the CEO saying content, and for them, it's them talking about AI.
It's like just soul destroying. It really is.
All right, guys. Well, I'm looking forward to next year's E3. We might. You want to do this again for Gamescom?
Yeah, why not? I'm up for that. I'm
All
up for
right.
that.
We'll see you guys at Gamescom if we have the time. But that's it for our E3 2018 roundup. If you guys have any comments on them, I want to know what you guys thought at home or at work, wherever you are, in the belly of a beast,
Oh,
maybe,
in your car,
with a little smartphone
in a
in
lift,
your car, in a lift, on top of a roof,
on top of a
like wherever you
multi-story
are.
car park.
It feels like we're turning into an advert.
Yeah,
Well, we are
a little bit.
advertising, but yeah. Leave a comment below and like and like should I was about to say subscribe. Is subscribe? I'm new at this, guys. I'm sorry, but that's the Meatbags E3 roundup. See you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.